I want to talk about change for a moment, and many people believe that people can't change. And I just want to say that uh, I believe that most people don't change. People can change, there's no question about it. Cognitive therapy is all about changing your mind. If you change your mind, you can change your heart, you can change your behaviors, you can change your life. You can change, but most people don't change. Most people, 30 years later, they're exactly the same as they were. They haven't learned anything, they haven't matured. They're stuck in the same behaviors, the same ruts, the same confusion. They haven't grown up. So most people don't change. Everybody can change, but change is, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult because most people are, as much as they want to change, are afraid to change. It's like there's some kind of expression that the horror that I know is better than the horror that I don't know. Like so, if you change and do something different that's going to change your life dramatically, even though your life is miserable, but your fear that, well, what if what I do makes things worse? Then I'm really screwed. So I better stick to the crap life I've got. Well, yeah, if you want to play it safe, you can, but that also means you're going to be miserable. And I think the odds are more likely that when you go out into the wilderness and make an effort to change in your life and change your mind and soften your heart, whatever the thing might be, I believe you're more likely to end up in a much better situation, a much more satisfying situation. And if you don't, by and large, I think you'll still be happy that you tried to do something different. Certainly, you got yourself out of the frying pan. Maybe you jumped into the fire. That's the big fear. You jump from the frying pan into the fire, but you don't have to jump into the fire if you pay attention, if you look before you leap, if you think before you react, think before you speak. If you look for the red flags and the potholes in the road in front of you, so you don't drive into them, you look for the red flags and you avoid them when they crop up. There are ways to navigate your life to a better place, to a better outcome, to better health, to better relationships, to better work and career, to more money, to greater happiness and inner peace. It's all very possible and doable, but it's really hard. So you have to have the courage to change, and then you got to put the hard work into it. Change is really difficult. As anybody who tries to change their eating habits and go on a diet, and it lasts for like, a day and a half, or it can last for months and you lose some weight, and then 12 minutes later you're binging and starting the whole cycle all over again. It's really hard to change, but you can do it. If you're motivated, if you really want to change, you can do it if you're motivated. And then you have to persist and persevere and practice the new behaviors, and understand what your fears are that motivates the bad behaviors. Understand the resentments that you have. Understand the fear of abandonment you may have. Understand your insecurities and your self-doubts and your low self-esteem. The more you understand about yourself, the greater the possibility that you can change and grow. Now, you can do it in a number of ways. You can do it by reading. You can read self-help books, and there are a lot of excellent self-help books that will explain to you how you can change and grow and make better choices. Uh, the fact that there are a trillion self-help books and they never stop coming, and one guy who's really good at it writes a dozen self-help books. Why would that be? I would think one would be enough. Yeah, it's because we go through the self-help books and yet we still end up sabotaging ourselves and not making the changes we need. So sometimes we need professional help. Now listen, I'm not drumming up business here. I'm just saying sometimes it's good to talk to somebody who's a professional, who can help you to navigate your fears and help you to change and grow. And there's different types of therapy for doing that. There's the psychodynamic therapy where you try to bring the unconscious to conscious. You try to talk about your childhood. You talk about how your parents, and perhaps how dysfunctional they were, perhaps how invalidating they were, perhaps how abusive they were, that got you into certain behaviors and certain ways of looking at the world and looking at your place in the world. So you can look at that and gain insights and change. And cognitive therapy can also help you change. And cognitive therapy is basically the idea that your thoughts create your reality, that thoughts precede emotions, which precede behaviors and outcomes. So negative thoughts, very simplistically, negative thoughts will generate negative emotions, which generate negative behaviors, which generate negative outcomes. You replace the negative thoughts with positive thoughts, you get positive emotions, positive behaviors, and positive outcomes. That's very simplistic, but that is how it works. It takes vigilance over your thoughts. It takes a lot of work to break an old thought, emotion, behavior, outcome habit. It takes a lot of vigilance over your thoughts. It takes a lot of practice learning how to substitute an old response, a negative response, a losing response with a positive, empowering, effective response. Practice, 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 persistence, perseverance, dedication, motivation. It can be done, and I encourage you to do it, because the end result is a life so much more satisfying, so much happier, so much better, so much more successful.